Welcome to Stories I Know. Sad to know that 90% of our viewers engage with our videos without hitting that subscribe button. If these tales resonate with you and you crave more, be sure to tap that subscribe button and activate notifications. It takes just a moment, and it enables us to craft even more incredible content for you. The atmosphere was charged with an intensity that clung to me, enveloping me in its grasp. The rhythm of my heartbeat echoed in my ears, a constant reminder of the decision looming ahead. Clad in a stunning black gown that accentuated my every curve, I stood there, a sense of anticipation tightening within me. The elevator door glided open with a gentle chime, revealing him, Emily, the figure who had filled my mind, my dreams, my longings. Encountering him face to face felt like stepping into a dream. He exuded an aura of assurance, strength, a presence that drew focus without the need for speech. His dark eyes locked onto mine, piercing and evaluative, his lips forming a sly, knowing smirk. "You're breathtaking," he whispered, his voice a gentle touch that sent a thrill through me. I gulped, my throat parched, yet I maintained my gaze. I was unable to. His presence ensnared my thoughts. He took my hand without a moment's pause, his grip steady and relaxed, guiding me into the opulent hotel suite. The city skyline unfolded beyond the expansive windows, yet my focus was solely on him, as if the rest of the world had faded away. Elias shed his jacket, the motion smooth and deliberate. His black shirt clung closely, highlighting the wide stretch of his chest and the solid muscles hidden beneath the material. His aroma surrounded me, fresh and strong, with an undertone that was richer, more mysterious, and instinctual. "It seems you've been observing me," he reflected, his tone sleek, yet tinged with conviction. "I can perceive." Warmth flooded my cheeks, yet I chose not to refute it. I confessed, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. His smirk grew more pronounced, his eyes shadowed by a hint of peril. "So, you're curious about the experience, are you?" I nodded, my breath hitching in my throat. "Express it." His tone was soft yet resolute, an order cloaked in elegance. For a fleeting instant, uncertainty wavered on my lips, yet longing ultimately triumphed over hesitation. I desire to understand the sensation. The whimsical arc of his smile vanished, giving way to a more profound, more visceral emotion. "Let's discover the truth." Before I could respond, his hands found their way to me, his hold both commanding and respectful. He drew me close, his form firm and resolute. The intensity between us was palpable, igniting my senses. His lips found mine, urgent, all-encompassing. Each touch was intentional. Every kiss sparked a flame I hadn't known I was holding back. He advanced with assurance, his hands tracing my form as if he were already familiar with the spots that would set me free. This moment had danced through my mind in ephemeral daydreams, yet nothing could have equipped me for the sheer intensity of reality. The evening faded into a mist of intertwined linens and hushed revelations. Elias was filled with fervor. He was unyielding, sensitive to each quiver in my form, every sudden gasp of air. He acted without a moment's pause. He handled it with precision. He understood precisely what actions to take, precisely how to unravel me. When it came to an end, I found myself breathless next to him, my skin warm, my body resonating with a level of satisfaction I had never experienced before. The burden of my actions hung heavily in the air, yet in that instant, I found myself unable to feel remorse. As the night lingered into the early hours, guilt seeped in like an uninvited visitor. I cherished my husband, John, yet I had never experienced anything like this before, this sense of vitality, this profound awakening. I glanced at Elias, his expression calm, a sense of satisfaction clear in the easy smile playing on his lips. "You're amazing," he whispered, gently tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. I managed a faint smile. The words were meant to bring joy, yet they only served as a stark reminder of the risks I had just taken. The journey back was unsettlingly silent. I gazed into my reflection in the cab window, seeking the woman I once was before this evening unfolded. Yet she had vanished. The manner in which I moved, the way I held myself, it all felt transformed, as if a part of me had been set free, and now there was no turning back. As I entered our apartment, I found John arranging the table for dinner. He lifted his gaze, a smile spreading across his face. "You're back," he said, approaching me with a kiss. I allowed him to proceed. His lips were tender, known to me. Silence. Similar to Elias's. Indeed, I responded, my tone unwavering. The journey unfolded smoothly. He observed me intently for a brief moment, a slight crease forming on his brow. "Your appearance has changed." My stomach tightened. Distinct. He let out a soft laugh, shaking his head in amusement. Calm and at ease. More joyful. Equally balanced. I nearly chuckled. If he only knew. As the days unfolded, life settled back into its familiar rhythm. Sharing breakfast, a tender farewell kiss before heading to work, and enjoying dinner together in the evenings. Yet within, I was coming apart at the seams. Each time John's fingers brushed against my skin, I found myself needing to remind my heart to react, to feign the emotions I once held so dearly. Yet my body recognized the distinction now. I pretended to enjoy it to boost his confidence, to maintain an uncomplicated dynamic. Yet, following Elias, I found it impossible to feign any longer, for I had come to understand the genuine sensation. That posed a significant risk. The guilt lingered, a constant companion, yet I found a way to coexist with it. I convinced myself it was merely a dream, one I had realized, and now it had come to an end. I persuaded myself that my feelings for John remained intact. In a sense, I truly did. Yet affection and longing were distinct entities. At that moment, the distinction became clear to me. The most challenging aspect wasn't the remorse. It was the allure. For days, I wrestled with the temptation to contact Elias. Only a single message. Merely to check if he recalled. If he reflected on that night as I did. Yet I held back each time. This was an isolated incident. I had stepped over a boundary that was irrevocable, and John would remain oblivious, for this secret would accompany me to my final resting place. Weeks slipped by, and I told myself I could bury the events with Elias, locking them away in a shadowy recess of my mind, and simply move forward. I embodied the devoted wife, the woman who possessed all she could ever desire. For a time, I nearly convinced myself of it. Yet, the deception grew increasingly difficult to uphold. Memories would sneak up on me when I least expected them. John would envelop me in his embrace at night, drawing me near, and my mind would wander to the stark contrast of Elias' touch, how he possessed me, how he understood me in ways my husband never could. I attempted to brush it aside, concentrating on the life I had created alongside John. He was gentle, affectionate, and he cherished me deeply. Yet affection and longing were not synonymous. One evening, we found ourselves at a dinner party hosted by a friend, gathered around a table illuminated by the gentle flicker of candlelight. John sat next to me, his hand lightly placed on my thigh, a relaxed gesture of intimacy. I smiled, participating in the dialogue, yet my thoughts drifted elsewhere. Suddenly, I felt a vibration against my lap from my phone. A note. I looked down, my heart freezing in my chest as I caught sight of the name. Elias. I find myself pondering whether that night still lingers in your thoughts. My breath hitched in my throat. My fingers quivered as I secured the screen and tucked my phone away in my purse. My heart raced. Was he aware of the impact his actions had on me? Did he understand just how near I was to falling apart? The warmth of his breath lingered on my skin, accompanied by the pressure of his hands. The recollection of him lingered in my mind, softly echoing its existence despite my efforts to drown it out. I politely removed myself from the table, murmuring a vague excuse about seeking some fresh air, and made my way onto the restaurant's balcony. The urban glow unfolded ahead, a dazzling expanse of temptations. Yet, nothing could pull my attention away from him. I regret having responded. I ought to have removed the message, wiped away every sign of him, yet somehow my fingers acted of their own accord. Myself. This isn't a priority for me, Elias. Moments later, his response arrived. Elias. That doesn't provide a response. With my eyes shut, I let out a slow breath. Absolutely not. Myself. It was a single night. It has come to an end. A new message arrived in no time at all. Elias. That's amusing, as I recall you pleading for additional. A chill coursed through my veins, my body turning against me while my mind shouted for me to halt. He was playing with my limits, testing to discover just how far I could be pushed before breaking. I was unable to accomplish this. I tucked my phone away into my purse and settled back into my seat, mustering a smile as I grasped my wine glass. John glanced at me, his gaze filled with warmth and affection. Is everything all right? I gave a slight nod. Absolutely. Yet within, I was falling apart. I persevered for as long as possible. I turned a blind eye to the messages, resisting the late-night allure to unlock my phone and reply. But resisting Elias was akin to attempting to stem the relentless flow of the ocean. It was on a particular afternoon that I caught sight of him. As I stepped out of the cafe, coffee cradled in my hand, I suddenly found myself rooted to the spot. Across the street, casually leaning against a sleek black car, stood Elias. He had his eyes on me. Clad in a tailored dark coat, his aura was as captivating as I recalled. He remained still, silent, merely standing there anticipating. A quiet test. I might have chosen to turn away, feigning ignorance, and return to the life I had meticulously crafted. However, I chose not to. My feet acted on their own, bridging the gap that lay between us. What on earth are you doing here? I whispered, my tone quiet yet cutting. His smirk was utterly maddening. It's a pleasure to see you as well, Scarlett. The sound of my name on his lips stirred feelings within me that I was reluctant to confront. I whispered, casting a furtive glance to ensure no one was observing. This isn't how you make an entrance. Why not indeed? He inclined his head slightly. I long to see you. I despised the way my heart raced at those words. Elias, this was meant to be a singular occurrence. He moved in closer, his voice lowering to that perilous, personal timbre that had shattered me in the past. So, what keeps you here, engaging with me, rather than just leaving? I found myself speechless, for the reality was that I had no desire to leave. His hand grazed my wrist, a delicate touch, momentary yet powerful enough to send a surge of electricity coursing through me. I inhaled sharply. He invited me to join him. This is not a request, it is a command. I gently shook my head. I am unable to do that. Absolutely, you can. He leaned in, his lips tantalizingly near my ear. Indeed, you shall. His words etched themselves into my being, leaving a lingering heat long after he withdrew. I pivoted and strode off, my hands balled into tight fists. I had to find my inner strength. I needed to find my inner strength. Yet that evening, as I rested next to John, my body was uneasy, and my thoughts were ensnared in memories I couldn't shake off. I realized I was already adrift. It was inevitable that I would stumble once more. The allure of Elias was irresistible. Despite my efforts to push him away, he remained, ever present, observing, enticing. Yet, I found it impossible to continue existing in this manner. One evening, while sharing a meal with John, it dawned on me that my decision had already been made. He shared the details of his day, a smile gracing his face as it always did, blissfully oblivious to the tempest brewing within me. I adored him. Yet, I had let him down, and there was no way to take it back. That evening, I found myself before the mirror, gazing at my reflection, seeking the essence of the woman I once was. Yet she had vanished. I grabbed my phone, my heart racing as I composed a message. Myself. I can no longer continue with this. Please refrain from reaching out to me in the future. I paused for just a moment before pressing send. Moments later, the response arrived. Elias, do you really think so? I let out a quick breath, compelling myself to take the action I should have taken from the very beginning. I have blocked his number. Then I powered down my phone, slipped into bed next to my husband, and enveloped him in my embrace, as if clinging to him might somehow erase the past. It was not possible. Yet, the moment had come to cease the chase. There are certain truths I would carry with me to the end. And that brings Scarlett's tale to a close, a narrative woven with temptation, betrayal, and an irrevocable choice. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Was it right for her to remain faithful to John from the beginning? Do you think her bond with Elias justified the gamble? Was it the right choice to block him? Or do you believe she might succumb to temptation again? I would love to hear your opinions in the comments section. I would be eager to know your perspective on this narrative. If you found it enjoyable, please remember to like, share, and subscribe.